friends. We are so glad to be back with you for this episode of Family Meeting Podcast number 282 today. We're actually, as you're watching this, making our way to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for their marriage weekend up there. Looking forward to that. The church is actually in Virginia, and they host it in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee as a kind of couples getaway. Some couples are checking in early on Wednesday and then time together Thursday. Sessions start Friday and go into Saturday. And so it's going to be a great time together. Our plan, weather depending, is to do some hiking along the way as we make our way up to Pigeon Forge. Maybe hit up Gatlinburg Wednesday or Thursday and just have a good time. We would love your recommendations for restaurants and things to do in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. We've got a couple ideas already, but are always interested in checking out some recommended spots from each of you. Love to try local restaurants and cuisines wherever we go. Stuff we can't get here.
Yes, and that is one of the biggest problems about controlling our weight when we travel.
Yeah.
Is we want to try all the local places. It's like, oh, well, we can't get this at home, so we got to try it here.
Yeah.
And then we come home and we're like, what happened?
Hold on, I need to fix your mic. There you go.
Perfect. Okay.
Your little cover's coming off.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be a great time, but now we got to be careful.
Yeah.
How much we eat when we go. But we do want to try all the local places, so send your recommendations.
So the plan is for us to kind of split stuff so that we order less, eat less, and still get to try things.
Yes.
So,
that's the plan.
But it's gonna be a good time talking about marriage under pressure, and we'll give a little more info as we get into the episode itself. But I'm looking forward to it. A couple of the sessions, we've done very similar things last year at one of the retreats we did in Pennsylvania. But this overall theme, marriage under pressure, and like coal is the background, and then the words in diamonds, and talking about the fact that pressure doesn't have to ruin your marriage. It can refine it.
Yeah.
So it's our first time kind of doing this series, and I think it's going to be really good.
I do too.
We've talked through things. We've prepared all the stuff. Handouts are sent. Slides for the presentations have all been sent, and I just think it's going to be really good. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that with you, and who knows, it may be coming to a conference or retreat near you. So make your plans to be at one of our events. Got 7 or 8 lined up already. Expect a few more before the year is over. But it'll be fun to get together. And it's always interesting when you go back the second time, third time to places and really get to
know the people.
Get to meet and connect a little bit more. So
yeah.
And it's just an honor to be invited to speak back somewhere, because
yes, it is.
You just never know what people really think, and when they invite you to come back a second time, it's like, okay, we guess we didn't do too bad. So, but okay, let's see what's the matter here. There we go. Get this ready. I think we're ready.
All right.
Gather round, everybody. Are you ready? I was going to say, it didn't sound like you were ready. Her voice, I don't know what it is. It's something about podcasting. Her voice is totally fine until we get a podcast, and then she's got to clear her throat a million times and cough and whatever.
I don't know what you want from me. I sorry.
I just don't understand it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's like, what is the deal?
It must be psychological.
I think so. You got a lot of psychological things happening up there, but
the word you're looking for is issues.
We won't dive into that today.
Let me pull my water closer. All right.
Okay.
Now for real.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Ostracamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife, Scratchy Voice.
Hello and welcome to our family.
Oh, you sound like Marge's sister on The Simpsons.
Yeah, that actually hurt my throat.
Yeah, see? That's what happens when you mess around. But you sound
around?
Yeah,
that's all you do.
You're always the one messing around, throwing us off
You cannot
course.
be serious.
I'm strict business here, getting us ready to go, getting us into the flow.
Listen, this is what you and me are like. You and me are a mullet. We are a metaphorical mullet. Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
You're the party, I'm the business.
Yeah, so why are you trying to be the party right now?
Well, because
You're
I'm
ruining
everything.
You're ruining the whole system
I'm
here.
messing up the system.
Got a plan, got a thing. This is how things work, and you've got to switch it up.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 282 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we are going to discuss sexual baggage. What you've been through in the past sexually gets packed up and brought into your marriage, whether you know it or not.
When you said sexual baggage, I was thinking of something different. Like I was thinking like big bag or tub of like lingerie or something that you grab and throw in the car.
Gotcha. No, we're not talking about that. That's a good thing. We want people to have that. This is a sexual baggage can actually harm your marriage. When it's not dealt with. And we're going to talk about that today. Because maybe for you, the past feels like it is affecting your present relationship in a negative way. So what we want to help you with today is to give you some hope, maybe a little clarity, and a path forward together to really enjoy God-honoring intimacy and a great sexual relationship in your marriage. And I feel like this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
This episode is not for kids. So teenagers, children, this is not for you.
You should have seen the title and known, but
and
in case
skipped.
you didn't.
But yeah, just in case we got to say
in case you have it on autoplay.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
If you're just playing through the episodes, you might not notice the title.
Right. Yes. So this is your warning, fair warning. Parents, if you're listening or watching from YouTube with your kids, this is not the one to watch or listen to in front of your kids, okay?
But you're right. If you don't deal with the past, it does affect your present, and it will affect your future as well. And so I think it's going to be good as we take some time to deal with some of the things in our past. But before we do that, we are on our way right now.
Yes, technically we are. Because we're recording on a Tuesday. That's yesterday for all of you.
Yes, so as you're listening to this, we are on our way to Pigeon Forge. We're having a great time. We're doing some hiking, checking out some local spots.
Staring lovingly into one another's eyes.
Well, we're not doing that because one of us is driving. So one of us is staring at the other while the other's driving.
When we stop for lunch, we can stare into one another's eyes.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. But we're headed to marriage retreat with Barnhart. Looking forward to that. Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And going to be talking about marriage under pressure. That pressure doesn't have to ruin your relationship. It can refine it. And so we're going to be talking about developing a marriage going from coal to diamonds.
Yeah.
Going to be talking about the pressure in your sexual relationship, which touches a little bit maybe on what we're going to talk about in today's episode.
It does, yeah. There's a little crossover.
And then focusing in on internal and external pressures on your marriage or relationship.
So I feel like this series that we're going to present starting this weekend, From Coal to Diamonds, describes our marriage relationship. I feel like, there was like beautiful parts of the beginning, but the beginning of our marriage was really tough.
See, and I feel like we've gone from diamonds back to coal.
That's not a thing. No, we haven't. I'm telling you, your marriage is better than it used to be.
Okay. If you said it, it is true.
Yes.
And that's how you handle that, fellas. Just whatever she says is true. But
yeah,
maybe you're listening to this and you want us to bring this to your church or your marriage event. Feel free to reach out, info@familymeeting.org, and just put in the subject line there that you're requesting us to speak at your event, and we can set up some things and talk about details. We have a little questionnaire we send out to help gather information, set up a Zoom call, and do the details and get everything confirmed. But we'd love to talk about this in your event. So feel free to reach out about that. As we talk about the retreat coming up this weekend, I want to remind you, and we're going to show this on YouTube for those of you that are on there. It is your first opportunity to get our new Faith and Family t-shirts. We have it in black as well as our family meeting blue. And so that'll be your first chance to get your hands on it. First ones to be able to wear it is at that marriage retreat. After that, we will make it available for purchase online, in person here in Palm Coast, Florida. Maybe you need a reason to visit Florida. Just want to come pick up your t-shirts. You can come get them. And then, of course,
is expensive shipping.
They will be available at all of our marriage events this year. So
Cool.
Looking forward to that. Make sure you get yours as soon as you can.
Love it. All right. So now we are going to shift gears. Let's get into this discussion today. We are talking about sexual baggage in marriage, and the goal is to heal the past and to bring healthy intimacy and healthy sex into your marriage. This is what we all need to understand and comprehend. Every marriage brings history into the relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that history does include wounds. Maybe it's shame, comparison, or past experiences that really quietly affect intimacy right now in your presence. So we want to talk openly today. And if you have listened to this podcast any more than 5 minutes, you know that we talk very openly and we are not afraid to share what's happening in our own personal lives, share our stories. So we're going to be transparent with you even today. But we want to talk about how sexual baggage in marriage shows up and what it is, and how couples can move toward that healing and trust and deeper connection without blame and shame, because that kind of can enter into the marriage relationship when talking about sexual baggage. So we're going to go through all this. And then my personal favorite part of every episode is when we give you some practical steps you can take. Because that's what I like. I'm into anything that I consume. I'm looking for the practical steps. What can I do? Give me an action step. And so we're going to do that for you also at the end of this episode.
Well, and as we get into this conversation, I want to say this right from the start to help you to understand that no matter what has happened to you in the past, you can have a great and a healthy and a meaningful and fulfilling sexual relationship with your spouse. And
yes,
it is possible. Lysandra and I are living proof of that. We'll talk more about that as we get into some of the stories and the things that have happened to us personally. But I wanted to lead with that hope, because some of you, because of what's happened to you, some horrible things that you have been through and have done to you, you may feel like, what is even the point of looking and stirring this up and opening old wounds, because I'm never going to be able to get over this.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, you can get over it. Is it easy? No. It's going to be difficult, going to be painful. But as we mentioned right off the start, if you don't deal with the past, it will affect your present. It will affect your future. So,
that's a great point.
As we talk about in one of our sessions on We Need to Talk, talking about emotional healing and all that, sometimes you have to dig down and deal with the wound in order for it to heal.
Open it up and face it.
Yes.
That's the start of it.
For some of you, that's exactly what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah.
And for others of you, we're going to just help you along in the journey. You've already gotten started. You've dealt with some of the really difficult issues, but we'll help you take some more practical steps towards healing.
Well, and it could be your spouse that has what you would consider sexual baggage, where your spouse is dealing with a bunch of stuff. You don't get it. You're like, it doesn't matter. Just get over it, and that doesn't work.
No.
You can't just say get over it and you get over it. So this
it's like telling a woman to just calm
down, yeah.
Or just don't think about it.
Yeah, right. Or stop crying. Any of those things. Those don't work. Men, those don't work. Okay. But it may be something where this is going to help you to have a little bit more understanding and compassion for your spouse.
So you may be asking the question, what does sexual baggage really mean? And Lysandra is going to define it, and according to Webster's dictionary.
Listen, I didn't even open Webster's dictionary. He loves to make fun of me about Webster's dictionary, although I do love a good definition.
I'm going to say, you have a thing for
I love
Webster's
definitions.
dictionary.
I'm like, I appreciate the English language. I appreciate the proper way to write sentences and all of that. English was my favorite subject.
Nerd alert.
I
literally just lost half of our listeners right there.
Good thing you're so cool. They're coming
It
back.
went from 2 down to 1.
Thanks for sticking it out, the one listener that we have. Thanks. You know who you are. We love you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's Bree.
Thanks,
She's
Bree.
off running 50 miles somewhere. Listen to the podcast right
She
now.
has nothing better to do than to keep this podcast on.
Yeah. So, no, we won't torture you with what Webster's have to say, and we'll just kind of give you the Thomas Lysandra version of
Okay.
it here. But it's basically a casual term people use to describe emotional, psychological, or behavioral issues related to past sexual or romantic experiences that still affect someone's current relationships. And so really it's often, when you get down to it, in my experience anyway, all three of those things are involved. So whatever the situation is, it's all three of those: the emotional, the psychological, the behavioral, are typically all tied together. Agreed. It's very rare that you'll see just one or just two. They're so interconnected, and one often leads to the other. So because of the emotional and psychological issues, there's often behavioral issues that happen. So it's not a clinical term, just kind of more of a cultural phrase, but you've probably heard it, had conversations about it. Maybe you didn't necessarily know how to put it into terms, but that's the idea behind it.
Right. And what we want to do is just give you kind of a quick, just quick examples of what it is, because it usually means that, like, when someone says this person has sexual baggage, it typically means it's negative, right? It's a negative connotation. If you have sexual baggage, typically, like, ooh, that's not good. Like,
Well, anytime you talk about any kind of baggage,
Right.
it's her being an old bag or whatever,
how often do you talk about your wife being an old bag?
Me, never.
Oh, good.
Because I got a young wife.
Yeah. Okay, so sexual baggage. It's usually negative.
Yeah.
Pretty much
yeah.
always. Any kind of baggage, right? Emotional baggage or
It's
whatever.
like, think about when you go to the airport and you have your baggage.
Okay.
They're charging you money. So even that is a negative.
It negatively affects you. You got to carry it all around,
Yep.
stow it. It gives you less foot space.
I remember when I used to call your sister saddlebags.
What? You did not.
I did, yeah.
You called her
We were
saddlebags?
teenagers, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, why?
We were
Why did you
teenagers,
call her
saddlebags.
saddlebags?
I don't know. It was just like something.
You were such a bully. You guys, he was a bully as a teenager.
Yeah.
I like me some bad boys.
Apparently, yeah.
Okay. Back on track.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
What do you mean you some bad boys? Let's unpack that sexual baggage. How about that?
You're the only bad boy I like.
Then why was it in the plural and why was it current? And why is it boys? Like, there's so much wrong with what you just said.
This is why we don't go off script.
Yeah, that's why you're not allowed to say stuff.
I don't know what I was saying. I take it all back. Okay.
She's like, I love the human language, the English language,
I knew
using
you were
it
gonna start with that.
correctly.
I knew you
just
were gonna
want it
start
to be
saying it.
used correctly,
Stop
but
it.
nobody uses it more incorrectly than you do.
That is true. And here's why. Because my brain is not involved in my speech.
Well, and you just say things that you have no idea what they mean.
That is
all the
true.
time. And
That
then you
is
get offended
true.
when I'm like, "Hey, do you really know what that means?"
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I really have no idea.
Well, sometimes you do know what it means, and you're offended that I'm asking you that question, and it's just like,
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
like the whole DEFCON 5 thing.
Yeah.
It's like you were offended that I was asking you if you actually knew what that meant. I'm like, your history says there's a good chance you don't know, but
It was a legitimate question from
I
you.
really failed to understand your knowledge of the Santa Claus movies. So
Yes.
apologies
Now
for
you know.
that. Hold
Okay. Let me get into this. Jeepers creepers. All right. Now, typically, sexual baggage. Here's some of the things that it can be, okay? We're going to go through these kind of quickly. Unresolved feelings about an ex. So that can be any kind of thing. Like, it could be, feeling like you miss them, miss the sex with them. It could be, issues from that relationship. It could be that you're widowed and, thinking about your past spouse, all of that. So unresolved feelings about an ex can be very broad.
Yeah, I always think that's interesting too, because when you talk about an ex or something, could be, we say the word ex, but it could be like former spouse, like you talked about.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an ex-wife or an ex-husband. It could be your spouse passed away and now you're remarried.
Yeah, but like we have a couple coming to our church now, and both of their spouses died, and then after decades together, and now they're married to each other for less than 2 years.
It's so cute.
And
They're adorable.
They are adorable, but I think how difficult that has to be because you have certain patterns established already, ways of living and interacting with your spouse over decades, and now you're coming into a relationship with somebody who also has those patterns set, and now you're trying to set new patterns. So that can be difficult in and of itself.
Right.
Like even if you had healthy relationships before,
yes,
now you're moving into this and it's just different, right? So
right.
but along the lines of what you were saying about not necessarily a good experience with your ex, trust issues from past betrayal. So
Yes.
if you've had somebody betray your trust, when it comes to a physical relationship, especially, then that, if left unresolved, will carry into not trusting your current spouse, or even though they've not done anything to betray that trust.
Right. So that could be an affair or something like that, or pornography, but it also could be just them telling personal things about you to people, and that is how your trust was betrayed. Another aspect.
Well, I just say this, like, never share things you don't have permission to share.
Yes. And that's a good point, because we do share a lot on this podcast, but we both know exactly where the line is for each other.
Yeah. Very rarely does one of us come back to the other after a podcast or after a marriage event and say, hey, I wish you hadn't shared that.
Yeah, almost never.
Yeah.
Almost
in the
never.
super, super rare instances it happens, we apologize. I'll never do that again. I'll remember to ask.
And then we know, like, that's off limits.
But, like, we do that just speaking regularly, whether it's messages, for those of you new to the podcast, Lysandra and I lead Beachside Community Church together. And so our books, our messages, things that we talk, just normal conversations with people, we don't share stories about our family members unless they say it's okay.
Right.
So the same is true when it comes to, your physical relationship as well.
Yep. All right. Another aspect of sexual baggage can be shame or guilt about sexual experiences. So maybe you were very promiscuous before you got married, and now you're carrying the weight and the guilt of the things that you did, and that affects your current relationship, no doubt.
Yeah. Another issue is trauma, whether that's abuse or coercion. Lysandra and I, we've been very open about this, but we have both suffered from sexual abuse as teenagers. That has had an impact on our physical relationship. There's been a lot of things that we've had to talk about and work through, but if you don't deal with that trauma, it's going to be like this dark cloud over your physical relationship.
That's right. How about this one? Insecurity about performance, body image, or desirability.
So this is one of those for you that kind of lights up like red lights, huh?
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. This is mine, everybody. Like I said, we're very open and honest. So I'm being honest with you that this is mine. Insecurity about performance, body image, or desirability.
Well,
and desirability for me.
But this is one of those things where we talked about, with the term itself, and you're talking about emotional, psychological, and behavioral things, like because of things that happened to Lysandra, that has led to some of these issues she's had with body image and other things. So, like, these things are so often interconnected and interwoven with each other that if you don't deal with it, it does affect a lot of your life, not just our sexual relationship as well. Maybe it has to do with fear of intimacy or commitment. And some of that can stem back to some childhood issues with your parents or somebody else, fear of abandonment and all those sorts of things, but that will have an impact as well.
It can be jealousy patterns formed in previous relationships. So basically, someone who was cheated on may struggle now to trust new partners. Somebody who was raised in a really strict or shame-based environment may feel guilt associated every time any kind of a sexual thing is happening, even if it's a healthy sexual marriage relationship. And I think this comes into play in a lot of people who were raised like me and Thomas were raised. We were raised in an extremely strict religious setting and environment. And anytime sex was talked about, it was talked about in a negative way. Like, you shouldn't do it. It's wrong. It's sinful. And it was never really presented in like, unless you're married, and when you're married, it's beautiful, and God created it, and he wants you to have sex, and all of these things. So then there was definitely some of that, I think, that we even had to work through. But I know that for a lot of people, this is the sexual baggage that you carried into your relationship.
Well, and it's so interesting thinking back about that whole situation, and it still goes on today, but about the negative, only focusing in on the negative aspects. And it's like, you go all the way back to the garden and just not having a full, complete conversation about a sexual relationship for whatever reason. But when God created Adam and Eve, he created them perfectly. They're without sin. Scripture is very clear. Like, they're both naked. They're not ashamed. Why? Because it's in the right context. And he tells them, like, be fruitful, multiply. And
there's one way to do that.
Exactly. It's like he's basically telling them, like, go have a lot of sex. Now,
you're like, yes, Lord.
Exactly. Speak, Lord, your servant hears you. Like, but, and it's not, and sex is not just about having kids. Like, it's about enjoying one another. It's about creating intimacy. It's about celebrating each other. Like, there's so much more than just it's about having kids. But in a lot of, Christian circles, there's just so much shame and guilt that is wrapped around it because of the way that we often talk about it as just one thing, focusing in on sex that is used in a way that God doesn't want us to use it. And so having that balance in all things, and I know we have a lot of Christian leaders and pastors who listen to the podcast as well, and just encourage you to make sure you're having the full conversation around the topic of sex, so that we're not creating sexual baggage for the people who are listening to us.
Yeah. And in our parenting
as well. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to just teach your kids like sex is bad, don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Sex is great, wait for it and do it in the right context.
Yeah. So but here's the idea is where this term comes from. You're bringing old unresolved experiences into a new situation. And it can be used sometimes unfairly to shame someone for having past partners. And I do want to say this, like, not everybody who listens to this is a Christian. And even if you are a Christian, there's been a lot of Christians who haven't... how do I want to put this? They've got a past as well, and so we're not here to shame anyone about their past or guilt them, but in a lot of certain situations, it is used to do that.
Right. And here's the deal, though. Everyone has a past. So even if you are a follower of Jesus, and maybe you were from when you were young and you saved yourself for marriage, you still have some sort of a sexual past. And here's why I can speak to that. Because both Thomas and myself were virgins when we got married. We are each other's first sexual partner. However, we both came into the marriage with sexual baggage because we both suffered abuse as children. Well, preteens, whatever.
Still children.
Children. And so we brought that into our marriage. But then you've got to also figure pornography.
Yeah.
Because I stumbled across porn in a family member's house and saw that when I was like 7. I mean, I can still see that in my head right now, and I'm 41.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know about your porn history specifically, but like,
well, I've talked about this as well. Like, I remember the first time I saw anything like that was in my grandpa's garage.
Yeah.
Like, he had it was probably a little bigger than like Post-it note size, but it was a little calendar.
Oh my goodness, that's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the things that happened, and this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, is about these things being all interconnected. Like, things happen to you, there's emotional issues, psychological issues, and that often leads to behavioral issues. And so, like, porn was one of those behavioral issues based upon what I had experienced.
Right. So even two people who got married young and were both virgins when we got married, we have sexual baggage.
Yeah.
So the point is, everyone has a past. So don't be in your marriage thinking like, well, I didn't bring any sexual baggage in. You probably did. And don't shame your spouse if they are the ones who have a lot of maybe past partners or a lot of issues and things that they are trying to work through and get right with the Lord.
Yeah. And I'll say this also from the other side, because we're not using this to shame anybody, but we're also not using it as an excuse not to deal with the mistakes and the failures and the sins that we have made.
Well said.
And so whatever has happened to you in the past, whatever you have personally chosen to do, like, you can find forgiveness and you can find cleansing from all those things. You can find healing from it. I think about, Jesus' instance with the woman taken in adultery, which is it's an unfortunate title for the situation, because it takes two to tango. We know that. For whatever reason, if you're unfamiliar with the story, here's what happened. Religious leaders were trying to trap Jesus. And so what they did is they took a woman from the very act of adultery, brought her in front of Jesus. Now, they don't bring the man, which is interesting to me, because he's the one who actually should have been held more liable.
Yeah, which is unjust.
In their day and time. Yeah. It's to me, it's another form of spiritual abuse. Mm-hmm. But that's a topic for another day. So they take this woman to Jesus and say, hey, the law says, like, she should be stoned to death. What do you say? Because they're trying to trap him. And so he makes that statement that's often taken out of context. If you're without sin, go ahead and cast the first stone. And it tells us, starting from the oldest to the youngest, they all kind of walked away. But Jesus didn't leave it at that. He then turned to the woman and he says, where are your accusers? And she says, nobody's here left. And so he says, I'm not going to condemn you either. He makes a statement that often gets left out, though.
Yes, that's true.
He says, go and sin no more. So he recognized the sexual relationship that she was having was wrong, and he encouraged her to get it right and to stop doing what was wrong. And so the same is true with us as well. Like, we love you. We're glad that you're here. We'd never shame you or put you down for choices and mistakes that you've made. But we also won't make allowance for it either.
Right.
So get it taken care of, get it confessed, deal with it, and move on from it.
That's right. Now, speaking of shame often comes along with sexual baggage, right? Because shame can come from either direction, right? Your spouse can shame you for your past decisions, or your spouse can be very loving and saying, I forgive you. None of that matters. That happened before we met.
Yeah.
Or you didn't know Jesus when you did that. Like, it doesn't matter. It's in the past. And they have no problem with it. But the shame is coming from you. You are ashamed, and you are carrying your own shame. And I'm so sorry to hear that. I don't want you to have that. When Jesus died for all of us, he died for all of our shame, and he took sin upon himself. All we have to do is just accept that gift of salvation from Jesus, and he just takes away all of that.
Yeah.
So you can let all that go. But let's kind of look at this shame that can be the sexual baggage brought in. Because shame says something is wrong with me. Like, all the things that I did, something is wrong with me. It can also show up as feeling damaged.
Yeah.
Like, this gift that I presented my husband on my wedding night was, messed up or used, right? Like, I'm giving you something that's used instead of brand new, and it doesn't. I'm ashamed of that. I feel bad, and I can't forgive myself because I deserve to feel shame. And this can all show up, and then when you keep that sexual baggage, it comes out every time you have sex. Like, that's all coming into play in your sexual relationship. And so what happens too is, like, if you were raised in maybe a situation like we were, with like a very one-sided view of sex presented in a religious setting, then there can be guilt tied to it, right? So what happens then? A lot of times you can avoid sexual vulnerability and you just shut down because of all the shame that's kind of in your head from your religious upbringing, your culture, or your family.
Well, I was just gonna bring that up because you highlighted religious, but it's not necessarily just religious either.
Right.
So it could be based upon your culture. It could just be like, it's your family for whatever reason. And so like, it's you're brought up to think like the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen is you have sex before marriage, and you've got, that weighing over your head also.
Mm-hmm, right. And so a lot of times what people can do with this shame that they carry in is they try to overcompensate. The goal is to prove my worth because I know I don't deserve you because you don't have the same sexual history that I do. So now I've got to prove that I'm worth a worthwhile partner. So maybe you're overcompensating and doing things that you really don't feel comfortable with or whatever to overcompensate. Or maybe it's fake confidence that you're trying to present to overcompensate for the fact that you feel like you're not worthy. It can also present by withdrawing during intimacy. So like your spouse is kind of ready to get things started. They're initiating and you say that you're tired. You say that you, don't feel well or whatever you want to say. And you're basically just trying to shut it down because the shame is too much. And these are things that can happen if you hang on to that sexual baggage.
Yeah. Well, and shame is powerful.
It is.
Because it makes someone hide. And intimacy requires openness.
Oh, yeah, right?
So if you can't or won't be completely open and honest, you're creating a barrier for how close you can actually be with your partner. So when one spouse carries unresolved sexual shame, they may struggle to communicate desires and have a hard time with that. They may feel uncomfortable initiating sex. They may experience anxiety during sex. Possibly interpret neutral comments as judgment.
I think that I do that.
Well, you are high on the judgy scale, so.
No, I mean when you make a comment that's completely neutral, it doesn't mean anything. I can take it and twist it and I can make myself think that you're saying something negative about me.
Okay, can you give an example?
Oh gosh, let me think.
Yeah, I mean, just it doesn't have to actually be something conversation, but like similar to what may have happened. I don't care if you do share what was actually said.
Right.
I'm
I'm trying to think of an actual time, but nothing is coming to me specifically. It's more of a feeling.
That's a first because
usually I have one in the file cabinet.
Yeah.
But it's like this feeling that I would get. So it might be just as simple as like you saying at night you're tired. And that means nothing sexually, but I can literally take those two words, I'm tired, and be like, he's tired because, and he's too tired, he doesn't want to have sex, and he doesn't want to have sex with me because I'm unattractive or whatever.
Okay.
And it doesn't even, it's not at all what you meant. You were just literally saying you're tired.
Or you could reverse that. She says she has a headache, and oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, so she's not interested in me. But, and I don't think that for me this is coming from shame. It's coming from insecurity, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But all that insecurity started with the sexual baggage that I'm carrying because of sexual abuse as a kid. So that's where that comes out for me. And I think that that's a really good point. Like interpreting neutral comments as judgment, that's something that comes along with this.
Yeah. But I think it's important to point out that the danger in marriage isn't the past. So whatever your past is, no matter what it looks like, the danger for your marriage isn't that. It's the silence that shame creates. Mm. It's not dealing with the past and getting through it, working through it. That is the real issue at play here.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? Comparison. Comparison is often wrapped up and packed up with sexual baggage. Like you bring it into your marriage with you, whatever the comparison may be. So it may be that Thomas is comparing me to the little stick-em note calendar he found in his grandpa's garage like 25 years ago. Would probably be more like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I'm like, oh man, I could never live up to, the women on that teeny tiny calendar, right? Or maybe it's the reverse, I know that she was with this man, and what if he was a better lover, or more well endowed than I am, or whatever. But that comparison, and either you're comparing yourself to these past experiences, or you're comparing your spouse to your own past experiences. And this is the reality, and we find this in scripture. The mind is a battlefield.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a war happening in your mind every moment.
Well, and we do know that, comparison is a thief of joy.
It is. And really the opposite, or the way to really combat comparison and being discontented because of comparison is gratitude.
Yeah.
Being thankful for what you do have, right?
But when you play the game of comparing, no one's going to win here.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to win.
Right. And that is a quote that I wrote years ago in a book, and he's still stealing it and pretending like it's his own.
It was mine.
Whatever.
I said it somewhere, and it was
No,
lodged
you didn't.
in
You
your
stole it from me.
No, it was lodged in your subconscious, and then you wrote it.
Whatever.
From
Okay.
hearing. I've been saying that since I was like 4 years old.
Because I wasn't alive until you were 4.5. Very clever.
Thank you.
That was clever, baby. Okay. So here are some examples of what comparison maybe sounds like in your mind. Let's see if any of these ring true for you. Am I better or worse than their past? So it might be comparing yourself to your partner's past. Was their ex better in bed? Am I less attractive than their previous partners?
So we're looking at this from two directions.
Yeah.
So first of all, talking about comparing yourself to your partner's past, and that's these kind of questions
right.
and thoughts.
Right. So was their ex better in bed? Am I less attractive than their previous partners? Do they miss what they had before? And this is what's so crazy is like, you don't even have any evidence of this, but our imagination is so powerful. It fills in all the gaps. And our imagination can really just go. It's just rocket ships, right?
Yeah.
And we have all these ideas of like what they might be thinking or whatever. And then here's another thing to keep, in your mind and consider is that comparison fuels jealousy, and jealousy fuels insecurity. So this can be a really negative thing in your sex life is allowing this comparison to just run free, run wild, rather than shutting it down.
Yeah.
Like grab it and be like, nope, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to compare myself or imagine that he is comparing me to my, to his other lovers or whatever in the past.
Well, and as you mentioned, sometimes it is without evidence, but sometimes, there is evidence where you get to the second half of this where you're comparing your partner to your past, which is such a dangerous and unhealthy thing for your current relationship. And it sounds something like this. My ex was more adventurous. Like maybe sometimes you don't even like say that, but you think it. You start to run these thoughts through your mind instead of being thankful and grateful for the partner that you have and working hard in that physical relationship. You're kind of running these thoughts through your mind. Hopefully you don't say these to your partner.
Please don't.
There's no good that's going to come from that kind of conversation. I've experienced more. Something feels different. And, if you don't deal with this, if you leave it unresolved, it can create a quiet dissatisfaction or emotional distance. So comparison shifts intimacy from connection to performance. And something we always encourage you to do, no matter what your past is like, no matter how long you've been married, is to constantly work on your physical relationship with your spouse. And that comes through some conversations and about what you like, what you don't like, and triggers and all those sorts of things. But if you're just sitting there comparing them constantly in your mind to a past experience with somebody else, it's not going to be good for your current relationship.
Right. Okay, and then here's the one that I deal with, and that's insecurity, and that's the fear of not being enough. And it can relate to a lot of different things. For me, it's usually looks.
This is something I don't even understand at all.
Because you never feel insecure. Do you feel insecure about anything? Looks?
Not that I can, honestly, not that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of that. I want that for myself, and I do not have it. Okay, it can relate to looks. It can relate to size, ability, maybe past experience. Like I'm not experienced enough, right? Like I haven't had enough experience to be a good lover, or maybe it's not being enough as far as your adventurous nature. Like I'm not as, adventurous maybe as I could be. Timing. And I think everybody can understand what I'm talking about with timing there in a sexual relationship.
I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean by timing?
Like how long can you last? Or
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. All right.
All right.
Stamina.
Okay.
Okay. I was like, timing. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Desire. So like I don't really desire sex as much as I should, or sex drive and all of that. But it can be other things too. Like this is scratching the surface. It can be everything. For me, it's usually looks. So that's where my insecurity usually stays. And it's often, insecurity is often like the emotional outcome of shame and comparison. So when you combine shame and comparison, it can show up as this insecurity, not feeling like you're ever enough, and what that looks like. So if your spouse is doing this, or if you are, it could be because they're insecure, needing constant reassurance.
Check.
That is me. I need constant reassurance. Becoming possessive or controlling.
Double check.
That is not me, but it may be you.
You're not controlling?
Well, not in sex.
No.
Am I? Do I control you too much in sex?
No, I guess
Do you want
not.
me
But
to?
just in life in general.
Do you want me to use fewer whips or?
Oh boy. I prefer none at all, but
JK, everyone, or is it JK? Sorry. Okay, I don't know why I did that.
I just wanna state for the record, I'm not the one who took this episode off rail. So it wasn't.
I'm having
me
too
this
much fun
time.
here. All right. So possessive or controlling, avoiding vulnerability. If you're insecure, that it can
Check.
come out that way. I don't think I do that.
Well, you do in a certain way
it's
because
fine.
like you prefer it like to be dark. You don't want me to.
Yeah.
At some times you don't want me to like see you or look at you.
Yeah, that's true. Or I don't want to be naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the insecurity. Right. Okay. Overthinking small sexual interactions. So like, maybe it's like, he spanked my butt as he was walking through the kitchen, but it was just playful. It wasn't sexual because he's not really interested in me. So that's way overthinking small sexual interactions.
What's funny about that is like if you don't do that one time,
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's like, well, how come he didn't do it this time?
Yeah, is he not interested in me anymore? And then fear of rejection also comes along with insecurity, of course.
So in marriage, sexual insecurity can be especially intense because sex becomes intertwined with identity, right? Am I desired? Am I chosen? Am I enough? And if those questions aren't grounded in Christ, you will never feel like enough. And we have talked about how important our identity is in Christ, that you'll never find complete fulfillment in your spouse. They were never meant to make you happy or complete you, as is often talked about with a spouse. And I think about Ephesians 1 verses 4 and 5 says this, and maybe these are some verses that you need to hear and need to put into memory and kind of just meditate on until you can truly understand and find your identity in Christ. It says, even as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world. It talks about in love, he predestined us for adoption to himself as sons through Jesus Christ. And I love that fact that you are chosen. And it's not an accident. It's not just happened to. Like, no, he knew you and he chose you. And we're not here to get into a big theological debate, but reminding ourselves that, hey, you are chosen in him.
That's right. All right, now, we maybe have these issues in our marriage, right? We have the sexual baggage. And sexual baggage is has a lot of issues and things that come with it. But if we are trying to rebuild intimacy in our marriage and rebuild and unpack that baggage. Okay. It's less
Yeah.
about fixing sex and it's more about rebuilding safety, trust, emotional connection.
Yeah, because, if you're only working on the symptoms instead of really getting down to the heart of the issue, you're never going to really fix the problem. You might mask it,
Yes.
but you're never really going to fix it.
Yeah. It's like putting a Band-Aid on some giant gushing wound, right? Or putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. Like you're not doing anything really. So let's talk about some practical steps. Here's the part. This is my favorite part of any episode or any content that I consume, and that is the practical steps. So here's some practical steps to help if you do have some emotional baggage in the marriage that is really affecting it negatively.
So one of the most important things that you can do is to create emotional safety first. So intimacy, we're not talking about sex here. We're just talking about
Connection, closeness,
vulnerability, openness with your spouse. It cannot grow where there is fear. So
true.
You have to have a place where it is safe to have difficult, hard conversations, to talk about the scary things in life, the difficult things in life. If there's not emotional safety, you're not comfortable talking about the sexual abuse that you've gone through. Mm-hmm. You're not comfortable talking about the relationships and the sexual partners you've had in the past.
Or not comfortable sharing the shame that you're carrying, the insecurity that you're carrying, or the comparison that you're carrying.
Yeah. And so you have to make that emotional safety a top priority. And so part of that has to do with how you respond, right, to your partner in the conversations that you have. Not overreacting, not shutting down, not these big outbursts, but really listening and understanding, affirming, and supporting what it is that they're sharing to you. So I encourage you to set aside intentional time to talk without phones or distractions. Mm-hmm. And we think this is super important. It's one of the reasons why at the end of every episode we share, this is your family meeting idea. Like, this is the conversation that you ought to be having. And so as you have this time together, remember, you need to share feelings, not accusations. And so you're going to use language similar to this. Like, when blank happens, I feel blank. And so you're sharing about how you feel. You're not accusing anybody of anything.
And that's a better statement to make than you always do, da da da.
Exactly.
You always make me feel, blah, blah,
Exactly.
That's not going to help you.
But if you don't have an emotional safe space where your partner can talk openly with you and you can talk openly with them, it's impossible to unpack the baggage. It's impossible to get over and work through whatever's happened in the past and move forward. So you've got to make that one of your top priorities, is that no matter what, I am a safe person for my spouse to talk to open up to unload what's going on in their heart and on their life. It should be that regularly, on a regular basis, about everything. And then the more that happens, the more they feel comfortable becoming transparent and open and vulnerable.
Yep. Now, one of the things too is you've got to get down to clarify the real issue, because here's what happens. You think about this idea of baggage, and everything is thrown in this suitcase, and you open the suitcase and it's all mixed in and it's all confusing. So a lot of times you have to unpack things one by one and figure out what is the actual sexual baggage here.
Well, and I think about the getaway we just had for Valentine's Day. So we just passed Valentine's Day, and and Lysandra was coming with me. We were going to the Flagler County Fire Rescue Award Ceremony, and where it's like, some of you saw the pictures on social media where I swore I'd never wear a suit again, and here I am in this full dress uniform with tie and jacket and
very handsome man in
the
uniform.
shiniest shoes I've ever seen.
Loved it.
And so it's like, Class A dress. You dress up, and it's this nice thing, and we're getting ready for that. So we had our plan, like, okay, we're going to go to the award ceremony. We're going to leave from there. I had got us a room at Margaritaville Resort in Orlando area, and we're going to leave directly from there. We're going to drive to Orlando to our place where we're going to stay, and then the next day was Valentine's Day, and we're going to have a nice lunch with our friends, double date, Faith and Ryan. And while we're getting ready for the award ceremony, we get a phone call from our third daughter, who's 17 years old, Abigail, who she'd just been in a car accident. Another car didn't stop, and
at a stop sign, and T-boned her.
Yep. And so her airbags went off, and just this huge issue, and she called it less than a mile from the house. So, like, we're getting ready for the ceremony, and we immediately, like, rush to go check on her. And she's safe. She's fine. She's doing very well. We appreciate everybody who's reached out to us about it. But we get back, and we have, like, 20 minutes until we're
to
supposed
be there.
To be there.
Yeah, and we got to drive there.
So, like, we're just throwing stuff in bags at this point. Like, and this gets back to the thing where it's, like, all packed in there, and we got to unpack it to figure out. Like, not really knowing, what did I bring? What did I forget?
Yeah.
Like,
when we got to the hotel that night, it was, like, almost midnight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 11, maybe 10:30.
Oh, okay.
10:30.
That's how old I am. I felt like it was midnight.
Well, we're usually in bed by 8.
Yeah. So I get out of the car, and I just went to this tote. Like, I had just thrown a tub and thrown stuff in it. And I went through and was like, okay, what do I actually need? Like, I was actually packing from the van into my backpack because it was such an insane situation getting on the road.
But that is this clarify the real issue. Like, sometimes you've got to just take everything out and unpack it to really figure out what's going on.
Right. And as you do that, as you try to clarify the issue, here's some of the things that you're going to try to figure out. What is this sexual baggage I have? Is it fear of rejection? Body image insecurity? Trust wounds, religious guilt, performance anxiety, unresolved trauma, having all of these out and taking them all out and looking at them and figuring out what is the actual issue here and clarifying it. Being able to say, okay, it's not this, it's more like this. And that can really help you get down to the root here. And then here's some conversation questions that you can have with your spouse that can help you to figure out
Wait. Please tell me you're not going to...
What specifically feels difficult?
Okay, thanks. I was like, tell me you're not going to say that.
I won't. What specifically feels difficult? When did this start? What do you fear might happen? And then when you can name the real fear, that reduces its power and helps you to be able, like, okay, now I know what this is. I can work towards moving past this.
Yeah. I like that conversation. And so these are kind of in a progressive order, right? And so the next thing is to rebuild physical connection slowly.
You have been saying this for years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if intimacy has become tense, you don't just jump straight to, Lysandra wrote me to say intercourse.
That's what it is. I mean, you don't jump straight to that.
Straight to sex. You can just say that.
Okay.
It's funny how you still sometimes are like jumping around the word.
I don't know. Just go ahead.
Yeah.
So, always a critic. There's always a critic in a group.
Yep.
And turns out there's only 2 people in this group.
Yep.
One of us is a critic.
Yep.
It's you.
Yeah. But you may not be able to just jump straight to it, right? Depending on what's happened to you, depending upon what your history is and all of that, you may have to start with non-sexual touch. Mm-hmm. Like just
because sometimes breaking the touch barrier is a big deal.
Yep. So it might just be holding hands, sitting close. Now, these are things that should be happening all the time in your relationship. But especially as you're working to rebuild that physical connection. Maybe it's a long hug where you're spending 20 plus seconds.
If you have a 30-second hug, it will feel like forever. It's so funny. I mean, I love hugs. I'm not against hugs. But like 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
That's supposedly like a really good hug, and it's going to release endorphins or whatever. But
Apparently there's a lot of health benefits from
yes,
it. But yeah.
but the truth is, we almost never have 30-second hugs. And I say we like culture, like people.
Yeah.
It's so do a long hug, and it's that'll be something else for you.
This might be one of the most difficult ones to do. Mm-hmm. Cuddling without expectation. Mm-hmm. That's difficult. Gentle, intentional affection. Mm-hmm. And so what you're doing is you're retraining the nervous system to associate touch with safety rather than pressure. Because depending on what your past is, the only thing that you think about when it comes to physical touch is maybe it's the trauma that's happened to you, maybe it's the expectation for sex. Like, we've had conversations with people who are literally like, I don't want to hold hands or kiss my spouse because I know it's only going to lead to sex. Mm-hmm. And so they never have those moments where we kiss each other and it's just about that kiss and it's about connecting right there in that moment. They only ever kiss when they want sex, or they only ever hug when they want sex, or hold hands or whatever. And so you have to retrain the nervous system that, no, this is safe.
Right. Yeah. This is very important. The next thing, another thing I should say that you want to do is remove performance pressure. Okay. Because there is a lot of pressure associated with sex, and especially if you have past partners or past experiences, then there's a lot of pressure to perform. Which, by the way, the title of our second session that we're speaking on this weekend is The Pressure to Perform. So we're actually going to be talking about this. But sex in marriage is not about competition. It's about connection.
Yeah.
All right. So practical resets. And this, I think, is super funny. And I'm not sure if I'm okay with this one, but I'm going to read it and you help me to know what you think, Thomas. Agree that not every encounter has to end in orgasm. Agree or disagree?
I mean, I prefer when it does, but
Me too.
But I also know, like, we have had times because of the circumstances where for one of us, it hasn't. Mm-hmm. So we had a situation not long ago where all the kids were out of the house, which is rare. And as we've talked about before on the podcast and other places, like, we thought it was difficult trying to find time to have sex when the kids were little. But when they were little, we didn't allow a lot of screen time. So we could put a movie on and for an hour and a half.
We had zombies.
Like, they're good.
They had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, so they didn't care where we were or what we were doing. But now we have teenagers, and our teenagers, unfortunately, like to spend time with us. Mm. And they're also very aware.
Yes.
So kids are gone, and we're like, hey, we can spend some time together. And
we don't have to be quiet.
Exactly. We don't have to worry about if they might overhear us, which in and of itself is a distraction.
Yes.
And so we're having our time together, and Lysandra has her turns, and it's going to be my turn. And all of a sudden we hear the kids yell, like, we're home.
Really loud.
Yeah.
Up the stairs.
And it was just like, oh, no, did they just hear us?
Yeah, I think I said to you, do you think they heard me?
And I'm like, they...
Definitely. I think you said definitely.
I think they definitely
I was
could
so
have heard you.
embarrassed. I was like, no.
So at that point, it was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this now.
Yeah, Thomas is like, we're done. We're okay. Kids are home and
so
interrupted. And
I think it is good to agree that is okay. Because depending upon how your relationship is and whatever else, like, and how things are physiologically and just all that. There's so many factors that we won't take time to get into now. But I think it is good to have that agreement. Now, I prefer when everybody can have their...
Everybody enjoys their time
But that's
together.
our relationship, right? That's where we're at. But even with us, it's like sometimes for whatever reason, because of stress and other things...
Mm-hmm. Or time frame. Like, it might just be like... Just you hurry up, I gotta...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's me, either me or her. Sometimes it's rare, but there are times where, and we do have that agreement. So it's a good question that you asked, and I think it's a good thing to agree on.
But it can take away some of the pressure.
Yeah.
Which can actually help you to both enjoy it more each time.
Yep, and
in
I'm
of
happy
itself.
just giving you a good time or vice versa and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what you can do to kind of release some of this performance pressure is focus more on curiosity than evaluation. So it could be things like, what helps you feel most connected instead of was that good? Although, I think that's a good question to ask too, because that helps you to learn and grow. But do remember that comparison kills intimacy, and you don't want to be comparing. So you're working to not compare to other instances. Okay.
Well, and you talk about the question, was that good? I just don't think that's a good question. Like creates good conversation and feedback.
Replace that question. What would be better?
What did you most enjoy?
That's good.
Or things like that, where it's like, what do you think I did well at as far as like connecting with you physically? So I think they're just better questions to ask than was that good? Because if you ask was that good, like the answer is yes or no, and even if it was bad, they're probably not going to say it wasn't good. Right?
Yeah. So open-ended questions.
Yeah.
And hopefully something that, like, and a what could I do better, or was there anything that made you feel uncomfortable?
Where you're getting into specifics, it requires a specific feedback versus, very cut off. But we talk about the importance of asking questions in other episodes. You want to replace shame with shared language. For example, instead of my past makes me damaged, which isn't the case, no matter what your past is. Shift it to my past shaped me.
Yes.
But it doesn't define our marriage. And healthy reassurance sounds like this. Like, I choose you. I'm not competing with your past. We're building something new. And so understanding consistency when you're talking about this matters more than intensity. So just... You may, with your spouse, depending upon what their past is, you have to kind of reassure more often and consistent over time.
That's right. And then Tom's talked a little bit about this, but I just want to reiterate this, establishing rituals of connection. So small daily intimacy ideas, right? So like maybe it's a 10-minute check-in. Maybe it's a weekly date night. Even if it's at home, we love at-home date nights. Actually, I think we maybe prefer them now. In our season that we're in right now, we prefer date nights that are at home, not out.
Well, we're like so busy that when we get a chance to like just chill out, it's so nice.
Right. A morning hug before work. Maybe it's praying together. And we did an episode not that long ago, maybe 4 episodes ago or so, that was like on a 20-minute debrief at the end of the night.
Yeah.
But that can be a great way to help your connection to grow. And remember that intimacy grows in consistency, not in grand gestures. So it's, expressing appreciation daily. It's every day showing up, every day making the effort.
I think it's also important to note, like, you need to address trauma with professional help if needed. So if there is sexual abuse history, severe betrayal, like deep sexual shame, compulsive behaviors, certain things that it's like, okay, we've talked about this, we've been working on it, and we just can't seem to get through this situation. A licensed therapist, especially one trained in trauma or couples therapy, can help safely unpack it. And anytime you go get professional help, it's not a weakness.
That's right.
It takes more strength to become vulnerable and go to somebody who's a professional. And it's just a wise thing to do. It's like if you have a major physical health issue, like you go to the doctor and you get help, and nobody looks at you like, man, look how weak this person is.
What
they had a heart
sissy.
attack and went to the doctor
No.
and got a stent put in. How weak are you?
Yeah.
Like, no, they're
No.
like, hey, I'm glad you were able to get the help that you needed. And this, we need to retrain our minds when it comes to getting professional help and counseling and coaching and things like that as well.
Yeah. You are going to have to understand that all of this, it takes patience. You have to have patience. So when you're rebuilding intimacy, it takes time. It doesn't happen right away. And trust is built slowly. It's never built quickly.
Yeah.
It takes time. And progress looks different in every relationship. Don't put a time frame on this. You can't be like, well, by now you should be healed, or by now you should be over it. Don't ever say that to your spouse. It takes time, and a different amount of time for each person. But as you are being patient, maybe it just looks like fewer defensive reactions. Maybe it's just a few more honest conversations. Maybe it's increased comfort every time you touch. Maybe it's just a little less anxiety before intimacy. Whatever it may be, but all these small improvements are real improvements. And so you need to celebrate the victories, celebrate the small steps, the baby steps, because as you take baby steps, they are building to something big.
Yeah. And I think it's important to redefine what intimacy means. It's one of the reasons why I'd rather say sex than intimacy when you're talking about sex.
I agree.
Because intimacy is not just sex. Sex is physical intimacy. So if you want to be specific about what intimacy you're talking about, I'm okay with that. But it includes emotional vulnerability. It includes being known and accepted, shared laughter, teamwork, spiritual connection.
Yes.
And when emotional intimacy grows, sexual intimacy often follows naturally.
It does.
And so we're talking about being intimate in every area of our life, being closely open and connected in every single area. And that should be true, when it comes to spiritual, physically, emotionally, intellectually, like all the things is what intimacy includes. And so make sure you're understanding that and have that common understanding of what it actually is.
Mm-hmm. And we hope that these practical steps are going to help your marriage unpack that sexual baggage and heal from it. We want to leave you with this. No one enters marriage perfectly unmarked. We all have a past. And intimacy deepens when two people say, hey, your past doesn't scare me. I'm not going to shame you about it. Let's go forward together. Healing is not about erasing history, but it is about dealing with it, facing what's happened in your history, giving it over to the Lord, and then, entering these practical steps to really rebuild that trust and that intimacy in your relationship. And you can heal. And as Thomas said at the beginning of this episode, we both have really negative sexual baggage, right? And that's the sexual abuse that happened to both of us. That came into our marriage, but you know what? We've healed from it and we have an amazing sex life. You can too.
Yeah.
If you want more on this topic, we have a bonus resource called Rebuilding Trust and Intimacy, and we want to share that with you. All you have to do is email us at info@familymeeting.org, and we will send that over to you.
So family meeting tonight is just as we talked about. You're taking time to have this conversation. And remember, you need to concentrate on creating emotional safety first. Make it a safe place to have the conversation about your sexual past and the baggage that goes along with it. You're going to clarify the real issue and then rebuild physical connection slowly. So take some time to talk about your sexual past and the baggage that you carry from it with your spouse tonight.
Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we discuss trying to prepare your children for every encounter and everything that life may throw at them, but failing.
Yeah.
This episode comes from an actual incident that happened in our life. We want to share it with you. We really thought our kids are prepared for whatever might happen. And then something simple happened and it could have gone terribly wrong and didn't, thankfully.
Yeah.
But we're going to share that with you and kind of talk about how can you think outside the box when preparing your children for whatever.
And it was one of those things where it's I didn't think we'd ever have to talk about this, but I guess we didn't talk about it. And maybe
and we should have.
Yeah.
We should have. So we're going to talk about that next week.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. All right. Important conversation to have about sexual baggage. One of the things I was thinking about when it comes to sexual baggage is often, the hypocritical view of, in a lot of circles of somebody's sexual past. You know, a lot of times with guys, there's not a lot of thought or concern or shame or guilt given.
Yeah.
And with women, it's often placed all upon their shoulders about how many people they've slept with and this and that, and so, or things that have happened to them. And I think that can bring on a lot of shame and guilt maybe for some women, that kind of pressure. And so that was just kind of something that came to my mind, you know, after we kind of closed out the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What about you? How have you been able to work through your baggage and your past and get to a place where you have a good, healthy, physical relationship with your spouse? Anything that we didn't share that we should have? Any tips and advice that you have? We'd love to continue this conversation with you right there in the comments, so feel free to reach out. Until then, we'll see you next time.